So guys, with tournaments starting up pretty soon, I want to go over the ultimate cash cup guide. I'm going to be taking you guys all the way through game 1 to game 10, how you guys should be playing, and some general advice for how you guys should be playing every single cash cup. This can be solos, duos, zero build, whatever it is. This is pretty much going to be the general way that you guys should try to play all of your cash cups. Now be sure to stick around till the end of the video. I think this video is really going to help a lot of people out with performing in their cash cup tournaments. Let's hop right into this video. Now I want to start off by going over some general advice. This is going to be before I kind of go over my blueprint for how I think everybody should be playing cash cups. This general advice is basically going to be the fact that each cash cup is dependent on your situation in game. So yes, you can listen to the blueprint that I have for the game, and yes, you can try to actually implement it. However, remember that things might go south and you may need to change your strategy depending on how many points you have and also depending on how long the tournament has gone on for so far. The general recommendation that I have is to analyze the skill of your lobby based upon the amount of points that you have and then the amount of people left in your game. Based upon that, so if you have a higher number of people, based upon those two factors, which is going to be the points and the amount of people left, decide whether to play aggressive or passive. Obviously, that's going to vary from game to game, and I will make a video in the future going really in depth on when to decide to play aggressive and when to play passive. However, just generally, those are the tips I would give you guys. Focus on the amount of points you have and then the amount of people left in your lobby when you guys are deciding whether to W key or whether to play passive. Now let's get into my general blueprint for what I think everybody should actually try and follow when they're playing these cash cups. Alright, so game 1, this is going to be, in my opinion, a game where you should definitely be W keying. Now, I'd recommend in these W key games, you try to get a high kill in a high placement game. You can see a lot of professional players doing this where they drop 20 bombs, pretty much winning the game. If not, they're placing at least top 5. In this game, they're going to be stacking up on their points and getting off to a really strong start within the tournament. Because game 1 is the game in which you have the most random lobby, with the largest range of skill levels, this means that if you W key, even if you get eliminated, the next lobby you'll have very low points, which is very close into the tournament, and it'll generally be an easier skill level for you in those later lobbies after you guys get eliminated if you do in the game 1. But if you don't get eliminated in game 1, you're going to get tons of elimination and placement points. So that's actually kind of a win-win situation. Basically, in game 1, you guys should try to go all out. You should try to W key. Obviously, if you're very new to competitive, maybe try and play passive, of course. However, the idea of getting elimination and placement points is very valid as long as you guys are able to actually perform and get those eliminations. Now, that's obviously going to be game 1. I think that that's the most important game for a strong start to the cash cup. If you have a good game 1, it's a lot easier to manage the remaining 9 games that you have. However, now let's go over games 2 through 5. So this is going to be the passive aggressive playstyle. Now what I mean by that is I want you guys to try and go for a really high placement, but if you are confident in your ability to W key and identify good and bad fights, go for those fights, try to W key, try to get eliminations. Basically, any way that you guys can add on points to your cash cup total, it's really going to be a very valuable way to do so, and you guys should definitely consider pursuing it. Now, obviously, game 2, 3, 4, and 5, that's 4 straight games of you guys playing kind of where you think you should. Obviously, once again, like I said before, you guys need to judge this based off of the amount of points you have and the amount of people alive in your lobby. So, for example, if it's second zone and there's 30 people alive, definitely go ahead and W key, because that probably means that the lobby isn't very good, and one duo or one player is kind of getting all of the eliminations in the lobby, and you guys can easily become one of those players as long as you're confident in your fighting ability. Obviously, this applies to game 2, 3, 4, and 5, but what's really important is that you guys make sure that you actually perform in whatever game and make sure that you actually stick to the playstyle and don't try to change it in the middle of the game. So let's say that you decide to W key at the start of one game, stick to that. Try to actually do it, because if there's any confusion with you or even with your duo, it's going to be very confusing for you guys, and it's going to be very tough for you guys to actually perform and get all of the required elimination points and all of the required placement points. Now, obviously, this does call for you guys to be able to, like I said before, identify good and bad fights, see which ones are very valuable to take, see which ones are not. Now, the best way to do that is to, of course, be able to identify which fights you guys are most likely to get eliminated in. If there's a fight that you guys see where 2 people are fighting and you want to third party it, that might be a good fight because maybe they're both low HP and you can finish out the fight quick. However, if there's a fight that you see where there's a full HP player that has a high ground advantage on you and you still want to W key them, that is not a good fight to take. Overall, the whole thing with games 2 through 5, that's really just you guys being able to identify what's valuable, but obviously having the passive aggressive playstyle. Now let's go to games 6 through 9. Now, obviously, this is a big jump again. We got 6, 7, 8, and 9, another 4 straight games. These 4 games, I generally recommend that you guys play to your needs. Now, what I mean by this might be a little bit confusing, but let's say that you guys aren't on too high points when you get to game 6. If you're not that high on points at game 6, obviously, guys, you need to really start W keying. You need to get a big pop-off game in order to catch up to the main variety of competition. Now, of course, if you are on high points, keep doing what you're doing. Play passive. Try to get a lot of placement points. Try to get very high placement, a lot of eliminations. Whatever you can do to keep playing the way you are, it's obviously working, so please keep doing it, even if the lobbies are getting harder. But once again, if you guys are on low points from game 6 through 9, you need to play to your needs. Now, obviously, this can mean a bunch of different things. It can mean maybe you guys are going to be switching up your drop spot if you're very low on points and you need eliminations. Maybe you guys are going to be rotating differently. Maybe you guys are going to camp in the storm and try to get some elimination points. It could be a various amount of things. What's really important is that you guys are actually focused on playing to what you and your team needs. Now, obviously that comes in many forms, but of course, the best one that I'd recommend to you guys, if you need eliminations, go for them. If you need Storm Surge, go for them. If you need to play passive, play passive. Obviously, I'm not the biggest fan of people camping in bushes and hiding in buildings, but if you need to do that to get placement points, you gotta do what you gotta do. I'm a firm believer that in competitive Fortnite, every single strategy is viable. The winner deserved to win, and at some point, the enemy team that lost made a mistake. That's what I mean by playing to your needs. You guys need to do whatever it takes in order to catch up and get the maximum amount of points that you guys need. So overall, for games 6 through 9, that's gonna be 6, 7, 8, and 9. Of course, you guys need to absolutely play to what your team needs, and whatever form that takes, you need to make sure you guys are on board and you understand what needs to happen. Now let's get into the final game. This is going to be game 10. You might have seen a lot of times in the cash cups, people are going to be backing out of their 9th game and they're going to be trying to queue up around 5 minutes left in the cash cup. Now this can obviously range depending on your points, but I'd leave at least 5 minutes for you guys, regardless of your points, to actually get into your 10th game. Obviously in your 10th game, I want you guys to try to survive as long as possible, try to play it out completely, and don't try to W key if you don't need to. Regardless of who you are, I think game 10 is a place where you should not be W keying, you should be trying to play passive. If you guys are able to do that, I think you will definitely succeed and reap the benefits of playing out a passive game 10. What I find really important about game 10 is that this is where a lot of people can make really big comebacks. So let's say you're on the brink of qualifying to round 2 or the brink of making money, 100% play passive. Play game 10 like it's the best and most important game of your life. I know it's just a cash cup, but for a lot of you guys out there, you haven't really made too much money to the point where you can kind of brush off cash cups. It's important that you guys definitely try here. You play it out. You talk with your teammate if you're playing duos. You learn where to land and how to rotate if you're playing solos. You guys use zone strategies. You guys can have very good rotation. Use dead side of zone. Especially if it's a stacked lobby, you guys need to play it almost as if it's a scrim. It's a very important way of playing in game 10, and I see a lot of people kind of just wasting their tournament or quitting early or landing somewhere they're not supposed to land and then getting eliminated with barely any points in game 10 and then not being able to succeed because of it. Obviously, game 10 is still another game. It's very important. Even if it ends after the time and even if your points seem very low, you guys can still try to get more PR, more placement, whatever it really matters. Game 10 is really important, so be sure to play it out. Now, those are my general tips for a blueprint for the cash cup. You guys should follow that if you want to try to follow my general advice for how I think you guys should play game to game. Now, obviously, I have some other small tips. These are going to be kind of really small ones that kind of give you extra points if you guys need them. Now, in duo cash cups, you guys get extra points for getting a forecast tower. So basically, if you guys kill the boss and then capture a forecast tower by swiping the card, you're going to get 3 extra points. And then also the Rift Island. So if you capture the Rift Island, you're getting 15 extra points, which is an absolutely massive number. And that's why a lot of people end up going for them in the cash cups. So if you need a quick point burst, try to capture a forecast tower, try to get the Rift Island. Those are 2 very valuable ways to get points. But if you guys listen to all of this advice, I think definitely cash cups will become second nature for you and you're definitely going to succeed in them. Guys, that is the video on how to play cash cups. I really hope it helped you for solos and duos, and zero build, of course, is very valuable to play that as well. Obviously, all competitive Fortnite right now is building up to FNCS Global Championship. I'm going to make some videos on that and give my thoughts about who I think is going to perform. But I'm really excited to see that cash cups are still going on for the players that didn't qualify, and I hope you guys can use this video to succeed. But that's about it for this video, guys. Be sure to like and subscribe to the channel, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye, guys.